Throwback to the first I love you. Gael bit at his thumb as Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds ended in a shot of a landscape awash with feathers. "Did you like it?" he asked Annika nervously. It was entirely possible, likely even, that she hadn't. Sure, they'd already rented Vertigo, which she'd enjoyed, and she'd seen Psycho on her own, but he'd always thought those were easier to like. The Birds was just so much weirder. Of course, Annika was pretty weird herself, but still. "I did." Annika smiled, eating the last of the fun-sized Snicker bars she always pilfered when she came over, and squeezing closer to him on the couch. They were cuddled up in the basement/entertainment room, a comfy, ugly space with wood paneling, faded posters, a discolored rug that had somehow survived his dad's college dorm, and a huge flat-screen TV. It was the only place that had escaped his mom's meticulous decorating, holding none of the charm of the rooms upstairs, and yet it was Gail's favorite. "I mean, you may have overhyped it a tad," Annika continued, pursing her lips, "but I'd expect nothing less." She smiled, and Gael allowed himself to take her in. Her dark, glossy hair pinned into thick braids around the crown of her head, looking like some kind of badass milkmaid. Her wide, open eyes that grew 2 sizes bigger when she was being funny or making a point. Her tiny, unassuming mouth. She was a perfect, beautiful girl who was also offbeat enough to love this movie, almost as much as he did. The word love stuck in Gail's mind like a peanut butter sandwich to the roof of his mouth. So delicious, and at the same time, so uncomfortable. Or so I'm told. From my position in the world, I don't exactly get to indulge in many PB&Js. It was September 18th, 1 month to the day since they'd first kissed, something he would have made a big deal of, except Annika had gone on and on about how annoying it was when her best friend Jenna kept them posted on her relationship length just about every week. He knew a month was fast to say it, and yet it felt so natural, so right. Gael held her tighter as Annika nuzzled into his chest. Her body felt warm and soft against his. He and his family had spent countless hours watching movies on this ratty basement couch, but since his dad had moved out, he'd been watching them almost exclusively in his room. With Annika, it somehow felt okay to be down here again. There would always be the pang of what used to be, but now there was at least the promise of what could be, too. Gael ran his hand over her braids as his eyes flitted to the clock on the Blu-ray player. It was past 9:30, and her curfew was 10 on weekdays. Annika wasn't exactly the type to care much about curfew, but Gael was the type to want to show her parents how much he respected their rules. Annika looked up at him mischievously. "Not exactly the most romantic movie," she smirked. "Though I suppose more romantic than the Battlestar Galactica marathon I imposed on you last week." She didn't drop her gaze. "I guess we'll just have to make up for it." Annika ran her hands through his hair, her fingertips on his scalp making him shiver, and then pulled his lips to meet hers. Her kisses were fast and insistent, and in seconds she was on his lap, straddling him on the couch. Gael pulled away. "Hold on." Those pivotal 3 words burned in the back of his throat, where they'd been lodged for the past few days. Annika had already told him she had to study tomorrow night and wouldn't be able to come over, which meant that if he didn't say them soon, he'd have to wait another 48 hours. And for a romantic like Gael, that was an unbearably long time. Romantic. One who ruthlessly believes in love in its finest form and impresses those feelings onto his or her various relationships, may result in scaring off partners, falling for the wrong person, and desperately trying to turn life into a movie with glamorous old Hollywood actors, may also result in some of the best, most inspiring, and deepest relationships around. Annika gave him a playful peck of a kiss. "Why? I promise I'm not a maniacal seagull in disguise." She kissed him again, then raised an eyebrow. "Or am I?" Gael laughed, then rested his hands on her hips and tried to